This is the third and final MailPlus training session for customers that are integrated with workbooks. So in this session, we'll be going through the mailing report inside of MailPlus, looking at what access you get to in terms of data, so looking at open clicks, that sort of stuff, having a look at trend reports, and then looking at the reporting data side of workbooks, and then finally looking at automations as well. So for the reports side of MailPlus, if you head into the mailings tab on the left-hand side, you've got a few tabs at the top here. So overview gives you an overview of all recently sent out mailings. Trend report allows you to group different mailings together. Also mailings as a legacy feature, and then archived mailings as well. So for my mailing example we sent earlier, if I open this up, I can go into my report. I do get the option to resend it and also include it in a trend report if I forgot to include it in a trend report at the point of actually scheduling out that send. I can view the email, I can rename it, I can archive it there as well. We go into the report. On the left-hand side, I've got a preview of the email that was sent out. I can enter the details that were used as part of that send, who it was sent to, and also I've got the archive link as well. That'll be a link that you can share. The unsubscribe link isn't functional in this archive link because it can be shared publicly. In terms of the reporting, up the top here, I've got the share button, so I can share that data. You can pop in an email address, click on OK, that then send them a copy of the report. They can log in, they'll just be taken to this page here. Sorry, not log in. There is no requirement to log in, they'll be just taken to this page here. They don't need to log in to MailPlus. They can sort of view the report without having access to MailPlus as a whole. Next is the ability to export graphs. So any graphs that you'll see in this report here, you can export them as an image. You can download the raw data there as well, and you can also refresh it. So if you've just sent out a message through a mailing and you want to have a look and see how it's doing, you can open it up straight away, click on the refresh button, that'll then refresh those graphs. So looking at the first tab here is the impact tab. So I've got the sort of effectiveness report here, so the number of sent emails, which emails are accepted, opened, and clicked. Obviously, it's just myself in this report, so there's one for all of those. If you are integrated with your website and it's an e-commerce site, you might have the turnover as a result of the mailing being sent as well. The retention rate for your subscribers. So out of that full send, who opted out? If they did opt out, why did they opt out? So you've got hard bounce, so the email address might have been deleted. Soft bounce could be the inbox is full, or unsubscribed. They've actually unsubscribed from the message as a result being sent it. Below, you've got the unsubscription by category, so you can actually have a breakdown as to how they opted out. So it could be they used the default MailPlus link, they clicked the spam button in their email provider. That will then opt them out through that because we get notified that they've actually clicked that button. So we'll opt them out for you. And there's also in some providers now the option to unsubscribe by clicking on a button that's sort of nested within the sort of options that they have rather than actually in the message itself. Again, we'll be notified they clicked that button. We'll then opt them out for you. And there's a legacy report on the bottom there as well. Scrolling up, we've got delivery. So in the delivery, we've got a breakdown of the accepted versus not accepted, as in they've bounced. Again, it's just myself here, so I've only got a small pool of those to work with. For each one of these reports, I've got the little down arrow there. Click on that, I can export that data. So I can always create it will create a CSV copy of that data for me. And I can also view those contacts that are part of that report as well. Bounce rate. So again, if there was a bounce, be it hard or soft, you would then see a comparison between why that was and sort of the numbers for that there. And if there were any bounces, you can just have a breakdown per domain as well. So it's sometimes quite useful if you're a B2B sender, if there is like a business that's blocking you for whatever reason, you can see a breakdown of that there. Open, so we've got the open rate here. So open rates versus not open. So you can see that data there. Again, it's just myself, so I've only got one there. You've got that broken down by the time they opened up. So the first 48 hours and also the first week as well. You can always highlight that and zoom in to get the data. If you had quite a lot of opens, you can sort of make it a bit larger to look at that there. And you've got the opens via email client. For some reason, I didn't get my open that I looked on today, but yeah, normally you would see the email client there. The clicks here, so you've got the same sort of report, but for clicks. So click-throughs and then not click-through. And again, I can always export that or view those contacts that have clicked through. I've then got the link that was clicked on. So you'll see here that I've got the homepage logo. So again, when I was creating my message, I gave each link a unique link name. That's really helpful now for the reporting. I can see actually it was the home page that was clicked on once versus the nav bar that was also clicked on once. So yeah, really useful to include a good description of those links. I can always click into that link. That then takes the link there as well. The URL will just give me the raw URL of that link there as well. Below that, I've then got the heat map. So as there's only one click for each of those links, it's just sort of marked it all as green. But if you had more links clicked for the logo versus its homepage, the homepage might be an orange or a red, for example. Conversion clicks. So again, just to recap, for a conversion link, you need to mark it as a conversion link within the message. Once you do that, it will then be in its own report here. So I only marked these two links as conversion links. They're in their own separate report. As you can see, they're already in this sort of overview click report. They just happen to also be in the conversion click report as well. And then conversions, again, if you're integrated with your e-commerce site, you would see some conversion data here. If we head into Workbooks, I can show you how that looks inside of Workbooks. So in Workbooks, click on the logo. I can then go to my marketing and then go to my mail shots and then click into Spotler mail shots on the left-hand side. That'll then show me all those mail shots that have been sent out previously. I can click into that one I sent out earlier. And then within this mail shot here, I go into the stats tab. I can see the overall stats for that send. Double check the recipients and the mailing list that was used there. Most importantly, I can look at the online tab there. So I can see that it was sent to me and I click through. Obviously, if it was sent to a live list of contacts, you would see all of that engagement in this tab here. I can also look at the individual person as well. So I can even get to that through the sort of normal way of finding the person through the people report, or I can actually open up the person here, open up my record, and I can see actually the online tab there. Again, I can see all of those sort of click through and sent report sort of been fed through to this online tab against my individual record as well. You can then obviously build your own sort of reports inside of Workbook to sort of grab people who have clicked through within a certain time frame. All of that data is available to you to then use Workbooks to basically fine tune that and create reports on the back of this data being synced over. So that was the results that you can see inside of MailPlus and also Workbooks. If you wanted to look at multiple emails and have that combined report, you can click individual mailings and there, drop down up top here, you can then compare the mailings. That will then give you a breakdown of those different sends, and then you can sort of see how they compare against one another. You've also got that trend report I mentioned before as well. So if I had included that send from today in a trend report, happened to be maybe the newsletter one, I could view that, and again you'll sort of get that breakdown of how that particular type of message has been working for you over the course of the year. If you do sort of include all of your weekly sends in that trend report, you'd see that updated here. Again, this is a MailPlus only feature. It's not sent back into Workbooks. Heading over to automations now, we can create an automation. So automations are a great way of saving you a bit of time. So maybe you can create a welcome automation, or depending on use case, it could be a contract renewal or contract reminder notification, whatever it might be, you can create an automation for that. So in automations, I'll create a very simple one-stage email one. I can go into here, go into overview. I can create a brand new automation top right corner here, give it a name. I'll then get the ability to basically select different templates to use here. I can select one here. Obviously, just have a view them, have a look at them, sort of take inspiration from them if you wanted to. But I will start with a blank template here. Save and next. Edit. And then here is then the base for my automation. Middle of the page here is the automation I'm building, and the options are on the left-hand side. And then I've got a few options on the top here as well. On the left-hand side, I've got triggers, actions, conditions, and the flow. So triggers are the way that a contact starts the automation. You can have multiple entry points. So it might be they sort of get fed through from multiple lists within side of workbooks or mailing lists, or it could be they filled out a form that's been built inside of MailPlus. So as a Workbooks customer, the majority of the time, you'll, I'd imagine, want data being fed from Workbooks to basically trigger the automation. So if that was the case, you'll always use this external trigger type there because we're going to let Workbooks decide who starts the automation. MailPlus won't dictate that. Otherwise, it could be, yeah, based on a form fill. So they filled out a MailPlus form. So maybe you have the subscribe form on your website or maybe the inquiry form. Again, if you've sort of created that form, you can have a link to that. And if they fill out that form, they then start the automation. But let's go for external trigger. So I want a list inside of Workbooks to dictate who starts the automation. Give it a name there if you wanted to. That'll just by default inherit the name of the automation. That's fine to remain as it is. After that's been pulled in, I then look at my actions. So I can include an email to be sent, SMS, or an internal notification via email or SMS. I can update their profile and I can add or remove a tag. So the first action might be to receive an internal email notification. So when they get pushed in, I need to know that that's happened. So I can drag in this email notification. I can select the message to be sent there. So choose that one from this morning. Click on view. So when someone signs up or they get, pushed into this automation through a Workbooks audience, I, the internal user of MailPlus, want to be notified. So I would create my own message where I could sort of say, hello, this person has signed up or their contract's up for renewal, whenever it might be. You create a message inside of MailPlus that you'd like yourself to be sent, or a colleague of yours. Select that message, drag that in, and then I can set that again, and then basically pop in my email address into there. So I'll include my one here. And it's going to be sent straight away. So that's a direct option there. I can decide if I want to have a wait time in there, but normally it's going to be sent straight away. Clicking OK. And now I am going to receive that email as soon as that has basically been triggered. So once someone gets pushed into this automation or journey, I will receive that internal notification. The next action might be that the individual receives an email. So the person actually gets pushed into the automation. So again, drag in that email action, select the message. So it can be whatever message you wanted to. So I can set the second message there. And again, I can include a wait time or just send it directly. Obviously, if it was around, contract renewal or something like that, the sort of logic as to when to start the automation will be sort of set up inside of workbooks. You might have a list where you, 3 days before their renewal, then they get pulled in. So yeah, the sort of normally the logic is handled inside of workbooks, and as soon as they get pulled into the MailPlus automation, they just start that automation. But yeah, I've got that email there. I can click into it. As I said, you can have a wait time. You do have the option also to add in a filter. So not used very often, but it is certainly good to look at. You can say, actually, I want to look at a dynamic list. And we're going to look at that demo list that I created earlier. So only contacts, these 5 contacts here that are in that list are then going to be sent this email. If they get pushed into the automation and they're not one of those 5 contacts, they won't receive the email. It will just skip over that step for them. So quite a useful way to have a larger automation, to have different emails depending on who is being fed into the automation. So you could sort of have 2 emails here. One is sort of linked to one list and the other is linked to another list. They'll just skip over the one that isn't relevant to them. So quite a good feature to include there. Going back, I've got update profile. So again, once they enter the automation, I might want to tweak the area of interest, for example. So if you have that set up, you could then say, yeah, once they start the automation, I know they're interested in X, Y, or Z. So then let's update that for them. Add or remove a tag. So yeah, I can use tags here. So I can create a tag, pop that in, and then yeah, once they get to this stage in the automation, they receive the test tag. Condition, so I can basically include logic here. So I can say, check the database record or the contact record in the database for a certain date, whatever it might be. But the sort of normal thing to use in here would be this click condition there. So I can pull that in. I can then say, did they click on this message? So if you've got more than one message, you can actually sort of look back at the previous message. That's quite useful. So if you've got like a 3-stage welcome journey, it might be that actually you want to look at, did they click on email number 1 rather than just the sort of the one that's directly above this rule. But in this case, I will actually look at the second email that I send out to the individual. I can look at any link, or it can look at a specific link within the email. We're going to hold them for 4 days. Within those 4 days, if they don't click, they'll then get passed down to the no column. If they did click, they'll go down to the yes column. As soon as they reach a stage or as soon as they click, they will match that rule straight away. So let's say in the actions, I want to pull for an email and touch the yes path, set a message there. In this use case, as soon as they click on that link, they'll immediately receive that email, which obviously isn't normally the intended behavior. So what you'll likely want to do is add in a wait of maybe 1 hour, for example. So 1 hour after they click the link, then let's send them the email or the email number 2, for example. So you can introduce that logic there if you wanted to. And if they go on the no path, maybe they receive a different email, for example, or maybe you just let them leave the journey. So you've got that logic that you can include there. And again, you can sort of expand this further. You can introduce another click check below that one, so you can sort of make it as long as you need it to be. The flow just allows you to sort of push one path or sort of join one path to another. So you can sort of drag that in and have this path pair up with the other one. Up the top here, you've got the save button, so I can save that automation. I can view it, it gives me an option to view that. I can test it, so I can select a contact. I can select my contact here. And I can see actually if they start the automation this time, what happens? So they'll start it. I will then receive a copy or a notification email. And then me as an individual who started this journey will then receive this email here. If any personalization was included, like first name or last name, that'll be shown here in the preview. I then get this test tag assigned to me. If I clicked on this email or the links highlighted in green, what would happen if I did no? This email gets sent. If I click yes, this email gets sent instead. Yes, depending on what I do, you can sort of see how that path develops. And then finally, I'll just then finish the automation. So yeah, quite a useful process to go through there. Undo, redo. If there are any issues that are linked to maybe you haven't included an email in a certain step or there is no entry, you'll sort of see that there. Then finally, you can save as a template, a bit like with the email editor. Once I'm happy with that, I can close that down, save and finish. A bit like messages, that'll then sort of get created as in this draft state. Come in here, change the state to be final. And again, a bit like messages, you've now built that, you then need to sort of push it live or actually use it in automation. So I can go into the publisher now. I then want to publish that automation, basically push it live. So come into here, click on new publication, give it a name, it can be exactly the same as the automation. I can then decide how many times I want contacts to basically get passed into this automation, actually start it. So by default, it's unlimited. So in this use case, if they get added to the list inside of workbooks and then a day later get removed, day after that get added again, they can be on the automation side of MailPlus and be more than one time. So it's always worth thinking about how you would like that to work. So normally it would be once the automation is running or once. So you can sort of change that logic there. And again, it all depends on how many times they get sort of removed and re-added to that list inside of workbooks. But to be on the safe side, having it set to once the automation is running or just once overall is the best way to go. Select automation. So again, only automations that are marked as final will be shown here. Next. I can set the start and end date there. Confirm I'm happy for it to go live. Save and finish. And what this does now is it takes a snapshot of that automation I built. This one here. Takes a snapshot. It then pushes that live. So now if I wanted to, I can come back into overview. I can just sort of disable this. I can make any changes. I can then republish that as like a V2. I then still get to keep this old report. And then just sort of, any new automations that get made pushed live or, contacts fall into it will then be part of that V2 publisher. So it just allows you to sort of compare those stats. Version 1 uses old logic, version 2 has completely different automation logic, but it's good to sort of compare them against each other. So you can do that if you wanted to. For any emails that are currently being used in an automation, go into messages, automation messages tab there, and you can see this one here is now being used in that automation. I can always come in, open the editor, make any changes, click on save. That'll then be reflected or updated straight away. So no need to republish the automation. Any changes you make here will be sort of used straight away. So if you do want to have a little play around with the message, worth making a copy, having a play around with that copy, and then actually making the changes live in the live one once you're happy with those changes. Going back into the publisher, at the moment it's live. Nothing is going to happen because we're using that external trigger as the entry point and we haven't hooked up to anything. So the next step now is to go into workbooks and actually sort of talk about how you push that contact into that automation. So to go into workbooks now, click on the main logo again, go into marketing, you might want to create your list. So create that list sort of in advance. Once you've done that, go into the Spotler integration tab here. Open up the MailPlus integration. Go into the list sync here. And in the first training session, we looked at creating a new list sync there as like a one-off. I'm going to create a new one now, but just change it to be an automation list sync instead. So give it a name. So add automation demo. ESP target, this is the important bit, it's going to be an automation rather than audience. So I want to be fed into an automation. Mailing list, so again, that's going to be a list that you've created inside of workbooks. So the logic around who gets pushed into that list is all done inside of workbooks. Choose my record or my list that I created there. Scheduling, so again, sort of how do you want this automation to work in terms of how often should it be updated? So periodically, so yeah, every 30 minutes or hourly, weekly, whatever you want it to be, you can sort of set that to be automated there. On demand, so you need to press that little play icon every time you want it to be run. And then one off as well, so just happen once, for example. So if I do on demand, if you were to leave it as periodic, just note that whenever you set this live, the first time it runs, it'll push everyone through who's currently in that list into the automation. So it's really worth thinking about the sort of logic. So it might be that you have a rule in there, which is basically, if it is a welcome automation you want to have set up, only contacts that sign up tomorrow onwards, for example. So don't include contacts that are currently already signed up. So yeah, again, just sort of think about that logic. Any contacts currently in that list will be pushed through during that sort of first sync. And then following on from that, only newly created contacts or newly added contacts will be pushed through. The one below that is trigger code automation. That's where you'd select that published automation that you created. So add demo my example. Finally, you've got the remove on list removal option here. So that's really important. So currently, if I go back into my automation, preview that there. If this was, for example, like a 10-stage automation, which spans over the course of 3 months, if someone no longer qualifies to basically be in that automation, so maybe it is around contract renewals or whatever it might be, they've renewed their contract, you don't want them to sort of proceed and receive the following 5 emails. If they get pulled out of this main list here, as in if there is a check to say has renewed the contract, yes or no, if they then sort of no longer qualify to be in this list, if you enable this option here, once they fall out of that list, we'll also remove them from the MailPlus automation. So really, really useful feature if you did want to pull them out because the content is no longer relevant to them. Obviously, if that's not an important feature for you, leave that as disabled. Even if they get sort of pulled out of this list, they'll still continue the MailPlus automation. So yeah, depending on the use case, you might want to have that enabled or disabled. Click on create. That'll then create that list sync, so the automation sync there. Click on the apply pending updates on the top there. Confirm. That'll then sort of set that live. So now, if I run it, those contacts in that list will then be pushed into that automation. Going into MailPlus, once that starts to run, you see contacts in there. You've got the report option there, very similar to the previous reports. All the information you expect to see hopefully should be in here. So you've got the sort of top level stats there. You can scroll down, you can see stats for individual steps there. So for this email that gets sent out here, click on the eye icon. I can, open up that message, see the preview of it. I can view the contacts that currently or have, passed through that within the export. I can create a new list from that. I can also then view the actual email report there as well. So the same report as we looked at before, but for that also automated email there. You can set your sort of date range at the top there as well. So I can go to date range picker. I can say actually I'll look at the last month, for example. That'll then update all of the sort of stats here. You'll see at the top there that gets reflected there as well. I can export the reports for that. I can show the contacts that basically started the automation, and I can also refresh that there as well. I close the report, go into workbooks, and what will happen is that the data inside of workbooks, again, individual contacts will have their records updated to indicate they've actually passed through the automation. They've opened, they've clicked on one of those emails. And then what will happen is we'll automatically create you a mail shot, and it will sort of give it the name of the publication. So there will be an ed demo mail shot. As soon as someone sort of integrate or interacts with that automation, we'll have that mail shot created for you. So you can go into, again, logo. You've then got sort of marketing mail shot. you'll then have a new Spotler mail shot created for you that is around that sort of automation. So again, you can click into it, you can see the stats for the automation in particular. So that's basically it. So yeah, every time you create an automation, you want it sort of fed from a list of workbooks. Make sure you choose that external trigger as the trigger point. And after you've built it and set it live, just go into workbooks and create that new sort of sync there where you sort of choose the list from workbooks, choose the automation side of MailPlus. That then creates that sort of link between the two, and then they can start piling into that automation and then start receiving those emails. Perfect. I think that was it for the session today. So we've had a look at the reporting side of things within MailPlus, reporting side of workbooks, and looked at creating an automation there as well. So yeah, thank you for your time over the course of these 3 sessions.